Big wheel keep on turning. Proud Mary, keep on burning. Is that how that song goes? This is going to be an exercise in me just butchering as many songs with the name Mary that I can, whether it's supposed to be there or not. Oh, Mary, our love. My name is Michael Knipp, and today we are going to be reviewing Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I believe the book was released this year. It is his major follow-up to the book The Martian, which I have not read, but it's also a follow-up to the movie The Martian, which I have watched, and it was very fun. I just cut out a section of me trying to remember the lyrics to Dysentery Gary to see if there was a line that said Gary so I could switch it to Mary. There's not. I'm just saying. I knew very little about Project Hail Mary going into this book, except that it was the follow-up to The Martian, and the only talk that I had seen about the book was that it was a little bit too close to The Martian for a lot of people's tastes. That is the worst and least nuanced take. Listen, when we boil down stories, we can always boil them down to the most non-useful levels that we could possibly do. Could we boil any story about someone in space having a predicament to The Martian? Yes, we probably could. This book is very different to The Martian, and I don't want to just talk about this book in relation to The Martian, but I have to get this out of the way. The book is a science fiction book about a character who starts the book in space with amnesia, and he doesn't know how he got there, and we sort of have to figure everything out from there. The story is told in the two timeline format where the character is learning things as he progresses, trying to figure out why he's in space, and he doesn't remember how he got there, or frankly, even who he is. And then he's having flashbacks as his memory comes back. We are getting the flashbacks in real time as he remembers information, where we are told things from how he got there. And there's a big disparate gap between the where he starts in the past timeline and where he is with amnesia in space, and we get to follow that. And the things that happen are very different from what I think the core values of The Martian are, which I view The Martian as being a very optimistic story about a person who ends up stranded on Mars by himself. It's about the perseverance of humanity, the things that humanity can accomplish if we learn to work together. It's a very optimistic view on that. But it's a very grounded story that tries to have as many realistic elements as it can while it tells this while science fiction story, like I said, very grounded thing. Project Hail Mary reaches a lot further. It really tries a lot harder to be a different sort of story than that, I think. No, I'm not going to use the low-hanging fruit of just singing Mary Had a Little Lamb. I'm not doing it. Nor am I going to say the stupid Mary, Mary, quite contrary. How does her garden grow, or whatever that poem is? Is that what it is? Is it a poem song? The core of Andy Weir's writing is very much still here, based on what I know about The Martian, based on what I know about the Martian movie, and based on what I know about the short story that he wrote in the Forward collection organized by Blake Crouch. I don't remember what that's called, but I will post a picture of it here. But Andy Weir very much writes the opposite of grimdark stories. He wants to tell stories where people are in precarious, perilous situations, but he wants to tell them with an optimistic view on life. Now, I have expressed many times on this channel that I am very pessimistic on the state of humanity and the ability on humanity to solve anything, much less great, massive societal problems. But from time to time, it can be fun to read escapist literature, such as an Andy Weir novel, where people actually work together when something global is happening, like a global catastrophe is happening, and people are like, hey, let's just put this aside and let's be friends. And like, why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Not a Mary song, but I had to. And so yes, this book does carry through that sort of symbolism and that sort of idealistic mindset of humanism and the ability for humans to make forward progress in major issues together if we laid aside our differences. That does continue here because there is, of course, a massive catastrophic event that sets the events of the story off. You learn this very early on. In addition, this is a science fiction book where, much like The Martian, the author really wants to explain scientific concepts to you in a way that he tries to use a story to tell you a lot of cool science things that he's very interested in. But there will straight up be quite a few times in the story where you will get a new element introduced, and then you'll just learn about science for some time. And I thought it was pretty awesome when I understood it. I mean, there's a lot of this in the book, and there's a lot of it where it's like, oh, that's cool, I didn't know about that, or oh, the way he described that made a lot of sense to me. And there's also some things where he goes off on one of these, multiple paragraph explanations of some scientific concept where I go, I'll take your word for it. It sounds really cool, but I don't get it. Oh, Mary, well, you came and you gave without taking. So the tone of the book, while I said the book is very optimistic and hopeful, it's also very upbeat because, yes, there are some very dire things that happen, some scary things that happen. It's also filled with a lot of comedy, a lot of goofiness, not like in a bad way, though. I really think it lands, but there is a certain level of humor that goes along with Weir's writing that is charming, I'll say. It's very charming. It's very wholesome feeling. Even through this weird hybrid timeline way of telling the story, we see relationships develop. We see the main character develop in a way that is funny, endearing. So even though there are massive elements of the story where things look very dire and there are huge stakes on the line, this book is the opposite of grimdark, which I've seen people use the term noble bright, and I don't know if I like it. But it's like everything is still posy, even though it may suck at the time. Help me, Mary, yeah, get her out of my heart. I was going to do Marianne instead of Barbara Ann, but no. Anyway, the cohesion of all of these elements, the unrealistic optimism that can be enjoyed even from an escapist element, the humorous, heartfelt takes, the exploration of scientific concepts in a scenario where you are able to have fun with them, but also there are stakes, there are things that you care about in the story. I think this book was executed awesomely. I already wanted to read The Martian. Now I want to read it even more. And also, I'm willing to read anything else that Andy Weir puts out because I think that his blend of all of these things together, even if like the elements themselves become his trademark as an author, from the 3 stories that I know that he's made, The Martian, Project Hail Mary, and that short story from the Forward collection, I think he has the ability to use his style in more locations to make it fascinating every time, at least for me. So yeah, if you enjoyed The Martian, but you want to see his take on a science fiction story that has a lot more fiction-y elements, how do I describe this? It's not as grounded as the original story. He takes more risks, he plays around with more fun concepts in the science fiction setting than just being stranded on Mars. Like, I think he takes some creative liberties and explores them and explains them in a way that's super, super enjoyable. I would highly recommend Project Hail Mary to you. I loved it myself. I had a fun time reading it with the patrons on my Discord this last month. I did just finish, so I am late. I apologize. But yeah, I loved it. For the most part, the people that read it also enjoyed it. I will say that probably the most common critique was the amount of science involved. It was a lot sometimes. For me, that was a plus, but just know going in, if you don't like those sort of sidetracks to explain science in the story that you're learning about, and especially if you don't think that this like dual timeline jumping back and forth thing will bother you, then yeah, you should check this book out. And please let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about what I've said in this video in the comments down below. If you'd like to talk about more specific things about this book or talk about it in a more long form discussion friendly format, there's a Discord link down below. Everybody can join that Discord and talk. But if you'd like to be involved in the patron buddy reads, like I mentioned, we did this book for one of those patron buddy reads. There's a link to my Patreon down below where you can be involved in those buddy reads, as well as fun game nights that we do all the time. Plus, I'm working on behind the scenes podcasts where I share my thoughts on other things, as well as behind the scenes channel things that are going to go on in that podcast feed. The Patreon is linked down below, as well as a merch store where you can buy very dumb t-shirts that I've made that are mostly inside jokes from this channel. Is this a book that you've checked out? Is this a book that you are planning to check out? Did I say anything that might have convinced you that this might be for you? If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos from me in the future, please remember to hit the subscribe button. If you hit the bell, you'll get notified every time I post a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for commenting. I love to talk to people in this community. It's why I'm here, and I love it so much. I keep coming back for more. Until next time, I know a girl who's tough but sweet. She's so fine, she can't be beat. She's got everything that I desire. Sets the summer sun on fire. Oh, I want Mary. I'm sorry. Sleep, no one ever get enough. Always looking up tired. Sleep, no one ever get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired. Sleep, no one ever get enough.
Always looking out tired, sleep. No, I never get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired.